Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. How's everyone doing? I pray that you are blessed. I just wanted to come out and discuss purpose. I think a lot of times I know for me, and I know I'm not the only one, I've heard a lot of times, what is my purpose? So I just wanted to kind of share some steps in how I found my purpose, what my purpose in life was. Um, because I know you heard it before. It says, "A man without a vision has no vision, has no purpose." If you don't know where you're going, then you're just existing. And I think a lot of times the biggest regret for people that are older or bedridden, when they look back and reflect, like especially as you get older and you realize you have less amount of years ahead of you, you start reflecting on life. And I think the worst thing or the big disappointment is those that never discover what their purpose was in life. So I just wanted to open with my scripture reference for the teaching today is Jeremiah 29:11. I know we probably know this scripture like the back of our hands, but it says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." So when I look back, like I said, I always wanted to know, what is my purpose? Like, what was I placed on this earth for? Like, why was I born during, at this time, in this period, during this generation? So one of the things, I want to ask you, or how I found it was, what are you passionate about? Like, what makes you excited? And for me, like, I just use myself an example. It's so funny because you're already walking your purpose. You don't even realize it. Like, I realized back then, even before I was saved and living a life pleasing to Christ, I was walking in my purpose. It just didn't fully manifest. And I say that, like, for me, I'm called to the nations. I just got back from Cuba. I always was passionate to travel. I always had a passion to travel. It was like, okay, where are we going next? And what country are we going to? Or what island are we going to? Like, I was passionate about that. And not even so much I was passionate, but once I was there, like, yes, I love the resorts. Love to lay my head down at night at the resorts. But during the day, no, take me amongst the locals. I want to experience their culture. I want to experience what their everyday life is like. Because if I'm in their country, why not experience? Why not experience the food within reason? Because I don't need everything. But I wanted to, in a sense, I don't want to say become them, but I wanted to delve myself in their culture. So it all came to fruition years later. Like, that's because I was called to the nations. You put me anywhere. I mean, I primarily have been in the Middle East, and I can adapt. I can adapt to different cultures, different religions, different ethnicities, nationalities. I can adapt. And it's so funny because when I, did a couple trips in the Middle East, my coworker had asked me if, I think I was going to Egypt, and she had asked me if I had to wrap my head, wear a hijab or cover my head. And I said, I'm not sure, but I'm bringing something just in case. And she was like, well, why would you have to? Like, you're not Muslim. No, I'm not. But you still respect other people's culture. Just like the Muslim religion, when you enter a house, you take off your shoes. And everybody we know, everybody's floor doesn't warrant us for us to take off shoes, but you have to respect the culture. And I was just thinking, Lord, would you ever leave the States with that attitude? But yeah, so I saw how it evolved because I was called to the nations. And I used to be offended because, like, when I would talk about my mission trips, and sometimes I had to go a couple days without taking a shower, or sleep on the floor. You know, people would say, "Oh, I couldn't do what you do. Like I'm fine right here." They just get offended. Like you think I like sleeping on the floor, or you think I like having to miss a shower or two? But then I realized you're right, because He will give you the grace for what He's called you to do. Everybody's not graced to go to the nations. So it's all about perspective. I had to put it in perspective. So let me just go into what I was saying. So I see now how, like I said, my passion to travel, my passion to experience different cultures, how it evolved in me going to the different nations to evangelize. Okay. And also, yeah, to evangelize. Like I always have a strong desire. I know for me, when I was in the world, I was doing stuff that wasn't pleasing to God. And in the end, there was still that void. You know what I mean? It was like, I knew that there had to be better than this. I knew that something was missing. So I was seeking stuff and seeking other things to fill that void, when only Christ can fill that void. So I have a strong desire, because in this world, like, everything is glorified now. It's always been glorified, but at least for me, when I was coming up, we didn't have social media, wasn't as Facebook didn't even, who am I talking about? Facebook didn't even exist back then, or Instagram. So anyway, it's more glorified, like drinking, smoking, the LGBT community is all glorified, and I just have a strong desire to, share the love of Jesus. Like, you don't have to live this way. And I think what better person for it to come from somebody that was in the world and was looking for things, for people to fill those voids. So I've always liked conversation. I always like intimacy. I love talking with people. I'm compassionate. So, and I always was like, get me out of the church in terms of, no, don't get me wrong, like in the church, but I mean in terms of, I was always about outreach, feeding the homeless, helping out community service, outreach, evangelist, so it's just, I look back, that's what I'm saying, like, I was walking in my purpose, didn't even know it, so you're walking in your purpose, you just probably haven't put a title to it. So just look at the things like, what do you love? What are you passionate about? What excites you? What makes your heart leap? That's number one. Number two, what do you hate? What do you despise? Like, what irks you? What really makes your skin crawl? Because what you despise is the very thing that you be called to. Like, for me, it was injustice. I hate injustice. I hate to see people mistreated. Like, I just really, really despise injustice. So one of the indicators that you, one of the things too, the things that you hate is something that you could be put there to change. So I think a lot of times we want to, some of us, and I'm guilty, okay, not some of us, me, would complain. Oh, it's easy to say, I hate this or I hate that, be part of the problem but not be part of the solution. If you see something that you don't like, and if it's in with your capacity, or even just pray and ask God to give you, ideas or solutions, or come up with creative ideas, ingenuity to come up with a plan to create a change. Rather than complain. It's so funny. I think back on a situation at my job that was just so unfair. There was a coworker that was favored, and it was just so blatant. And there was a lot of stuff that was going on that was it was such an injustice. And a group of us, this is before I knew better. We would get together at lunch and complain and gripe. And finally it was like, and I'm passionate. When it's something that bothers me or it's something that I like, dislike, I'm passionate about it. You know what I mean? I get emotional and I get all riled up and stirred up. And then one day I was just like, we're sitting here complaining. Like, what? All we're doing is just venting. Okay, yeah, it's temporary. Like, yeah, that temporary release, like, but in the end, the problem's still there. Tomorrow we back to complaining the same thing, you know? So it's like, what are we gonna do? So, someone had mentioned about going to HR and there's strength in numbers. So when they had mentioned it, you know, people all of a sudden was like, okay, so then it really doesn't bother you that much. Like, I understand in terms of, you know, feeling their backlash, but if you go in a group in numbers, then it's a little different. So I'm just saying that to say, and it makes sense for us to sit up here and complain every day when there was no solution. Why complain about something that you're not willing to change? You know what I mean? So what is it that really irks you? You could be that change. Number two, what I have, I said already, what do you enjoy? Number three, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? Like, what is your dream? If you didn't have to worry about money or, you know, finances, and the finances usually people's biggest concern, understandably, you know, it takes money to function and live. But a lot of times people get caught up in the finances. If it's God's will and in passion, most of the time He puts the desires in our heart. What would you do? He gives us the provision for the vision. So when you take the time to really evaluate what is your dreams, what is your vision, and eliminate the excuse, most of the time it boils down to fear of failing. Well, I think that's probably 80% of it is fear of failure. What if it doesn't? What if I don't succeed? But what if you do? How do you know unless you try? I mean, I'm like, let me be clear. Like, you know, you would take calculated risk. You know, if you desire to be a business owner, do your research. Do your research, and depending on what type of, you know, evaluate the market. Like, if you want to be, depending on where you, like, would you have a brick and mortar? You know what I mean? So those type of things, you know, you have to do your research. You don't just say, I want to be a business owner and not do your research, because you may want to sell bagels. I don't know. No, that's not a good example. You may want to sell hot dogs and hamburgers, but where you live, most of the people are vegan. Not likely that your business will be successful. You know what I mean? So you just have to do the research, see what your demographic is, how to market yourself. So all of that, you know, takes planning and preparation. So again, you want to take calculated risk. Like I said, more than likely it's fear of failure and your lack in trust of God. Because God can make our dreams become reality. But I think it's just that fear. And as we know, fear is not of God. And fear can be so strong in people's life where it's crippling. So I just encourage you, like, if money was an issue, what would you do? Like, commit that to write down the plan. You know, and pray, like, God, if this is this of you? Is this what you have for my, you know, the plans that you have for my life? Because you may not be, you know, you may be working in a 9-to-5 job in a cubicle, and that's not what you're called to do, and that's why you're discontent. But because you have a steady paycheck, and I get it, we like steady money, I get it, but you're not happy. A lot of people choose careers based on the earnings, the earning potential. And it's so funny because, you know, I've heard a lot of times people that know their purpose, they always say it doesn't feel like work. And that's so profound, because how many people can actually say that? You know, when you find what your purpose and what you enjoy doing, and you can make money off of it, that's awesome. So number 4, be clear about your purpose. Like really kind of narrow it down. Obviously follow those steps. Um, what are you passionate about? What do you hate? I hate the word hate, but what do you dislike? But yeah, I guess what do you hate? Because when you hate something, you strongly dislike it and you're passionate about it. And what would you do if money wasn't an issue? You said number 4 is be clear in your purpose. Don't be so general. Like really kind of narrow it down, break it down into, just be really clear and concise. Number 5, what have people? Number 5, how are the people that are called to you? Like in terms of, is there certain people you want to market, a certain demographic, a certain region? Like who's your target audience, basically? Number 6, what are your 3 primary gifts? What skills? Like what skills do you possess? What's something that you're really, really good at? Number 7, what are the top 2 things your friends and family speak about the most? Like what do they say that you're really good at? Like what is it that they say that you're really good at? And when you do that, like your visions, your objectives, your dreams, you want to kind of be clear about that. And we're only going to take the good things what our family and friends says, but what the things that they said is probably what God is saying directly to you. Sometimes we do things really well, we don't even realize it because it comes so natural. Like, are you a friend that people always call for advice and you just rattle it off and not even think about it? And you're called to counsel or pastor or whatever, whatever it is. Do people ask your advice on relationships? Or whatever it is that they ask you for. Like you look at the majority, like, wow. Because a lot of times you're walking in your purpose and you don't even know it. Because it comes so natural. Now that doesn't mean because, okay, let's say if you're a good baker or a cook, that you don't work on those skills. You know what I mean? Just take for example, look at Michael Jordan or famous athletes. Yeah, they're talented, but they have to still work on their gifts. They still have to be, they sacrifice the amount of hours they put in, practice. I'm naming all the old timers, but I just think of the great people. The musicians, the entertainers. They don't just get up on stage and be like, I'm here. No, it takes hours of training. They have to eat right. They have to probably eat a certain diet because when they're performing, that takes a lot of energy. So even when you find what you're good at or your purpose and your talent and your gifts, you still have to work on it. It's not just, okay, I could sing and hello, here I am. You know what I mean? You have to really strengthen and really hone those talents and gifts. Also, I said, like, what do friends and family say about what you're really good at? And also, because God can use people, obviously, to speak. He can speak through people. Have you received prophetic words? Like, what has been the common theme with your prophetic words? Like, for me, I always receive the word. But I already knew that, though. I would receive the prophetic words about being called to the nation. But I was told, was called to ministry before I even knew it. It was just like, and I kind of dismissed the first word. I was just like, okay, maybe she's just a little off. Like me ministry, well, get out of here. But then by the second and third time, I'm like, God, this is you, okay? So if you received, prophetic words that you're called to teach, or whatever the common theme is, and it's probably your purpose. Um, so once you have kind of went through these steps, you kind of tie all these things together, and you should. And you might not get it right away, or you may. You know what I mean? But just work on trying finding your purpose, because we're not here. He didn't put us here just to exist. We all have a purpose that we're supposed to, that we should be doing, like, in doing the work of the Lord, to bring glory to the kingdom. He equips us with, each one of us, with certain gifts, certain talents. So you just really want to make that. I had a friend one time who has really wants to be married, but he didn't know what his purpose was. And it's just like, well, you can't, the man is the priest of the household, the head of the household. And how would God send you a helpmeet when you don't know what your purpose is? So you see how, and not just, put the weight on the men, but for women too. What are you bringing to the table? You know what I mean? While yes, we are called to be helpmeets, you should have a vision as well, and your purposes probably will coincide. But we are called to be the helpmeets, to our spouses, so we can help them, achieve their purpose and what God has called for them to do. So it's just really important. So you just want to kind of tie all those things together, and should be able to determine, see what your purpose is. Because when you have, without purpose, I just felt like too, I just was existing, I just took each day as it came. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was just really living life, but it wasn't, I was just existing, but not living life like to the best of, I don't want to say living my best life, because that's so worldly, but in a kingdom sense. You know what I mean? So I just want to end with a quote from Mark Twain, where it says, the two most important days in your life, probably heard this before, are the day you are born and the day you find out why. It just gives a whole new level of meaning when you know what your purpose is. You know what you're waking up in the morning, why you're waking up in the morning. And each day you're getting closer and closer. Well, you're walking your purpose, but to whatever your dreams and destinations are. And, one of the mistakes too, in closing, try not to be long-winded, but I have to share what's on my heart. When you find your purpose in your dreams, everyone is not going to receive it or be happy. Sometimes people could be jealous, or they don't understand, and it's not for them to understand, because God gave you the vision, God gave you the purpose. That's mistakes that I made, because going to the nations is something that I'm passionate about, and I was just like, when I would get prepared for the trips, I would just share and be excited and be like, yeah, that's great. So anyway, I'm like, well, that, you know what I mean? So I had a lot of hurt feelings, but I had to realize that, you know what? I don't want you, it's not meant for you to understand, because it's not your vision. It's not your dream. It's not your purpose. So, and it's a lot of people, it's sad, and I was one of them, and I thank God for giving me clear vision and purpose, just existing, so, I just really, somebody, I don't, follow Dr. Faith Wakoma, it's WOKO, Coma. I'll put it in the link section below. I don't want to probably misspelling her last name. But she does great teachings on your purpose and your spiritual gifts, and, walking in the office, the fivefold. Like, she does a really extensive teachings on that. And I think it'd be helpful too. There's also, I guess I can do a separate scope in terms of what your spiritual gifts are. because your spiritual gifts are tied to your purpose. So like I said, I'll put that in the link below. So don't forget to, I forgot to say in the last video, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please. Appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and I pray that this has blessed you. Thank you.